What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blues Nation, and we have yet another video because we have yet another Premier League match, and this time against bottom dwellers Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let me tell you, games like these, fellas, need to remind us of how good we have it, because we whine and complain when we're in 5th place, when we're in 6th place, when we're in 4th place. Yet Wolves are sitting in the basement of the Premier League with a negative 30 goal differential. And to add on top of that, they're selling their best players, such as Jorgen Strand Larsen, to the likes of Crystal Palace, teams that they probably would have thought they're in a similar tier of. They're selling their best players to, as they sit in the bottom of the Premier League with, I believe, only 8 points. So before we get into this video, guys, I want to hop over and do some little bit of research with you. I want to look at what makes Wolves so poor and what can we look to exploit with their team. So let's hop into a little bit of analysis as we look at Wolves versus Chelsea. All right, guys, so here we are on whoscored.com, and I just want to look at a few things. I want to highlight some things that I think are interesting for us. None of this is going to be novel. It's going to be looking at, again, what is the situation with Wolves, what's making them so poor. So let's look first at their last 6 games and to see kind of where they're at with form, both across the Premier League and FA Cup. So in their last 6 games, they have 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, so very mixed. So starting oldest to newest, they won against West Ham 3-0, another relegation side. They drew with Everton, who were apparently on 2 reds. They won against Shrewsbury, the powerhouse Shrewsbury, 6-1, still a good win nonetheless. Drew against Newcastle, that's a great result. That's a result we should probably look at kind of as a marker, as a similar team in similar scenarios there. And then they lost to Man City 2-0, and then they lost to Bournemouth 2-0. But if you are looking at the context of those games, they actually didn't perform terribly against City, and they performed quite well against Bournemouth, and I think they're very unlucky with the 2-0 scoreline. So either way, I'm not going to hype this up as a game that should be tight, because it shouldn't be. But nonetheless, they're a team, right? They're still competitive in their games. You're not seeing Premier League games where they're losing by 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals. All these things like we used to see with the likes of Norwich and all these different teams, right, years past. They're poor. They're very poor. I'm not changing that. But when they do lose, it's not necessarily by these massive margins. So that's first off, just their form. But now let's get into stuff that's a little bit bleaker. Bleak for them, sad for you if you're a Wolves fan, but also good for us. In the Premier League, in 24 appearances, they have 15 goals. Not good. Not good. What is that, about 3/4 of a goal per game or so? Only 9 shots per game. Also horrible. And then I wanted to go down and look at this because this is the Wolves squad. And remember, they have 15 goals in the Premier League. Let's look at their goals, their goal scorers. Andre has none. Joao Gomez has none. Mascara has none. Whatever. Hwang Hee-chan only has 2. Jorgen Strand Larsen, now gone, only had 1. Krejci, 2. Manetzi, 1. Bueno, 2. Bellegar, 1. John Arias, 1. Baraka Dare, 1. Mateus Mane, 2. Rodrigo Gomez, 1. Why do I bring that up? They have not a single player with more than 2 goals. I'm not even saying double digits. I'm not saying even 5 goals. I'm saying none of their players have more than 2 goals. They are struggling mightily without really any upside going forward. And honestly, they're even worse in the back. They have conceded 45 goals in the Premier League this game. 45. I mentioned the negative 30 goal differential. They have only scored 15 goals and they have conceded, again, 45. So in other words, they're goal difference, if you want to use proportions real fast, math class with Will over here, they're losing every game on an average 3-1. Horrible stuff. So what makes them so poor? First off, let's take a couple minutes here to work through all these many strengths. That was rude. But they don't have many strengths. According to, again, these are kind of just characteristics that are drawn from performances that are compiled into WhoScored. Their strengths are protecting the lead, which that's not extremely convenient when you don't often have a lead, and stealing the ball from the opposition. So to be fair, they can be good at recovering the ball from you if they lose it. Weaknesses, they have a few here, and I don't often see bright red very weaks, but there are many of those, unfortunately. So they're weak at keeping possession of the ball. They're weak at defending against the wings. They're weak against defending long shots. They're weak against, in other words, they have a lot of individual errors. They're also weak with defending counterattacks, which is, put a pin in that because I will be playing with wingers this game. I'm not going to be playing with Enzo Fernandez on the left and Delap on the right. I promise you that. And then they're very weak at finishing scoring chances. That is clear since they have no goal scorers over 2. They're very weak against defending against through balls, and they're very weak against avoiding fouling in dangerous areas. So they're bad at defending the wings, the long shots, counterattacks, and through ball attacks. They're just horrible at defense. And they're horrible at finishing. So that's not exactly a recipe for success. So that is a little bit of a picture of why Wolves are so bad, right? It kind of shows you what happens, right? Incrementally as clubs fall down the table and move towards relegation. Oftentimes it's one piece falling apart after another. Maybe one year they have some decent offensive players. Like last year, Jorgensen and Larson was good, but their defense was still poor. This year, now it's everything is bad. Everything's falling apart essentially. And now they're kind of reaping what they're sowing. So that's a little bit of insight into Wolves and the team we're going to be playing. Now I want to look over at our Chelsea, our Blues, see what are some updates with our squad, what are some pieces of good news, as well as some pieces of bad news. And then we're going to build a squad together and see what we can do with that. So let's go ahead and hop over and look at some squad updates. So this is going to be really brief. This is just on Chelsea's actual official site, chelseafc.com. But this is just a couple updates Rosenior gave. First off, he hopes that Pedro Neto and Reece James, I have this up there just so you can kind of see the sources I'm talking about. And let me move it over so you guys can see all of the words. We'll go right thereabouts. So yeah, essentially, Liam Rosenior, sorry, I'm trying to get this the right spot. It's not cooperating. Nonetheless, Liam Rosenior says Reece James and Pedro Neto will be assessed ahead of our trip to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but I said Wanderers. It's a new word. But confirmed Cole Palmer and Estevao are both fit to feature. And then he goes on to say later on that essentially they're still assessing Reece as well as Pedro, and they're kind of hoping to give it till the last minute in order to hopefully be able to have them in the squad. So that is kind of the update with Reece and Pedro. It's still up in the air. They're assessing where they're at. We'll probably learn more about that throughout Friday and leading into Saturday morning if you're in America, and afternoon if you're in England, for Reece and Pedro. Bad news is for Jamie. He seems to be gone and out for quite a long while. He actually goes on to say that there's some kind of tear in his hamstring, so he'll be out for a while. I don't know if it's a full tear, partial tear. If it's partial, it could be weeks. If it's full, it could be months. Feel bad for him. You're hoping that, honestly, at that point, he can just have a fresh start whenever he comes back, no matter how long way that is, and kind of just get back going, because he has raw talent, raw skills, just hasn't put it together whatsoever. The good news that I want to look at before we build our squad together, and this is the biggest thing, is that he says yes, Palmer and Estevao, are both fit to play 90 minutes. So essentially he's saying this game against Arsenal, both it was part of the game plan, I think, which we all probably have differing opinions on. But also I don't think either of them were prepared to play 90 minutes whatsoever, right? Estevao had some kind of really difficult situation personally. We don't know what it is. You feel for him. Prayers go out to him. But he came back from Brazil in a matter of 2 or 3 days and was already back. And I'm amazed he played at all. And then Cole is still getting back. They're trying to get him back to not just playing, but playing as a player we know he can be. So that's the update. Pedro and Reece are both still kind of up in the air, hopeful, but probably I don't expect them to either to be starting. But Estevao and Cole probably will be starting, or at least they could be starting, which is great news. And then Jamie is done for a while. So that's your squad update. Now let's hop over and do a little bit of a squad build together. Okay guys, so here we are. I'm building my lineup together. And remember, this is, I guess the best way I can really try to put it is this is at least I'm attempting to be a realistic preferred 11. So it's not exactly predicted because I'm not doing exactly what I think Liam would do, but I'm doing what is possible. I think is not out of the realm of possibility, but also still what I think would be the most positive, and what I would like to see. So let's start in the back. We got Rob Sanchez, no surprise. The back line is mostly unchanged. We got Mark on the left. Wouldn't be surprised if Hato starts, but I also don't know how much rotation I want to see. And also, Hato did start last game, so I think it'll be Kuko on the left, Chalobah and Fofana in the middle. Staking my flag, by the way, I have no idea why people are reaming out Fofana for crying. We got get ourselves together. Come on now. We're reaming out players for not caring, and then we're bagging on them for caring. Let him be. Let the man be. And then on the right, this is a little bit of difference. I have a Josh Champong playing. Malagusto could very well play as well, but I love Josh. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for him to get a start and hopefully play a full 90 minutes of Premier League football. It's against literally the worst team in the Premier League. So if you're going to give him minutes and give him extended minutes, why would you not do it in a scenario like this? Because the cup competitions, at least I guess I should say the cup competition right now in the FA Cup is only going to get harder. There's not going to be these gimme games as much anymore. Champions League, of course, they're not going to be gimme games. So you have to utilize him, give him more minutes to eat up, mature, and develop. So I'd put him in there to bomb up and down the right. You know he loves to ball carry. He's good on defensively, very athletic. I'd be playing him there. Middle of the park, I'm doing this trio once again of this Andre Santos, Moises Caicedo, and Enzo Fernandez. Kind of in that free roaming role near the top where he can kind of slide into this left area, attacking area, and get off a bunch of shots. Hopefully more on net this game than he did against Arsenal, and hopefully bag some more goals. And then slightly out of position, I have Estevao on the left, coming in so that he can accommodate Cole Palmer on the right in that kind of inside right pocket area, so he can come in on his left foot and whip balls in and score some goals for us. And we've seen Estevao a few times on the left, and I think he performs fine there. You won't be able to see his left foot quite as well, at least for shooting, but for crossing you could. And frankly, I'm starting who I think deserves to start, and I'm not. Verdict is still out on Garnacho. I'm not saying it's over, but I don't think he deserves to start right now. And Gittins is unfortunately, like I said, not going to be playing. So I have Estevao on the left and Cole Palmer on the right. And then up top, Joao Pedro. He's been playing amazing. Even in the Arsenal game, he didn't score. Of course, nobody did. But I think his hold-up play was tremendous. He came back and worked hard in the defensive zone. He was winning balls. He was winning challenges and winning penalties for the team. He's continuing to impress me more and more and more over the last probably month to 6 weeks. So he gets a start for me. So that is my squad. That's my starting 11. I'm curious, what would you guys change if you look at that? Does anything stick out to you and be like, I would change that? This is obviously very strong, but right, every game matters tremendously right now. So that's what I would do. Now let's hop over and do a quick score prediction. Okay, guys, so I am going to be positive here because why not? I'm going to predict a 3-0 victory. I think our team will get positive production in the end, product. Wolves concedes lots of goals that we talked about. They're bad against the wing play. They're bad against through balls, both of which we have players that can do those things very well, with Enzo Fernandez, his line breaking passes, right? With Moise Caicedo's line breaking passes, with Cole Palmer and his creativity, with Estevao's wing play, all these different things, and Estevao's pace, right? And these different things. I think we're going to break down Wolves. I think we're going to win 3-0. We're going to get a clean sheet. We have one of the better performing goalkeepers in the Premier League this season. I think it's going to be a comfortable win against Wolves, and we're going to enjoy it on Saturday. That's what I'm saying. What are you guys saying? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to interact with you, hear your score predictions. How are you feeling about the team, even after a disappointing loss? So let's talk about it, and let's see how we do on Saturday. Talk to you guys later.